Hello, guys. Apparently, we should be live already. And if you see, if it seems for you like I just walked out of the shower, it's actually true. So, I decided to come clean for this for this show, and I'm gonna come clean on some other things. No, no, I guess it's just gonna be that one meaning of come clean. Anyway, what am I even talking about? Let's just get down to business. We are meeting with Mario for the ATP Weekly show, which as I think you already know by now, it's usually on Sundays, but this time we're meeting on a Saturday. That's mostly because I couldn't do Sunday, but actually, I think it's pretty good for us, right? Because we have already finished the
Yeah.
second we have already finished that second round of ATP Madrid, so it's more or less uniform in terms of who is in which round and etc. So maybe Mario, I will ask you that question first. We have already seen a few days of this event, both on the women's side and men's side. Of course, here we are only focusing on the men's. But what's sort of your first-hand experience about this event now being 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks? Because I've seen a lot of criticisms about it again.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I've been used to tweet in the years with Indian Wells and Miami talking about Masters events. Um, yes, of course, some people can prefer the 1 week format, and other people can prefer the 2 weeks. Um, it depends on your tastes, in my opinion, because one thing I like a lot about these 2 weeks Masters is that more players can have an opportunity, and also we are also watching a lot of players, lower ranked players who are already used to the conditions, who have played matches, who can create some kind of issues to the seeded players, and we can watch some good second round matches already. But also I can understand that for some other people maybe the 1 week master is better because you can watch since the beginning some match between two higher ranked player. I mean, talking about for example number 8 against number 25, something like that, while in this event you have to wait a little bit. um Also, if you are maybe a fan of that certain player, you have like one day you can watch him and one day you it's not, because at least at the beginning of the event you have the day off. But I personally I don't mind it, because I like to have a bigger draw. I like to see more players involved in Masters events, talking about qualifying. Also, there I think probably there are also a little bit of wild cards more, a couple wild cards more probably, because the draw is bigger. I don't really know about this, but um, and also a direct entry for more players who can mean a lot in terms of money and in terms uh, of other things, of experience on big stages. And I have to say that I don't mind it, of course. um, it also depends on um, how you like to follow tennis and tournaments, because for example it's not like that in the first week of this event tennis stops, as some casual fans can say. So for me it's okay, uh, I have to say.
Yeah, I think I've already spoken about it a few times here, and of course, yeah, I also don't really see the problem personally. I can understand how it is for some people, though, and it probably doesn't really help in terms of like growing the game. As a like total casual fan who's not yet into tennis, you're probably not gonna be glued to the screen on Saturday or Friday of one of these events. and maybe that's a bit of a drawback. But anyway, let's get down to the tennis then. Maybe I just open up the draw, and at the top of the screen is Carlos Alcaraz, of course, the main favorite for Madrid, which I think we both agreed on. Either last week, I think you weren't here, but at some point we definitely both agreed on the fact that Carlos Alcaraz was going to be the main favorite here, and he had a really tough time with Emil Ruusuvuori in the second round. What did you think of that, and how does it also reflect on Alcaraz's chances in the event going forward?
Nothing, to be honest, in my opinion. It doesn't affect my opinion on his chances in this event. Of course, he's been, I won't say close to the defeat, but at some point he's been 2-6, 2-3, and 15-40, so not so far away. But he had a tough test to start because Ruusuvuori is probably he's one of the toughest players to face among the non-seeded ones, and also a player whose tennis can probably create some issues here and there to Alcaraz. One, I know that some people like to compare Ruusuvuori to Sinner in terms of the kind of tennis they like to play. I don't know if I can agree, but I can understand why people are choosing that comparison. So it was not an easy one, and I think also that the reaction he showed at some point of the match, I'd say they probably gives me even more faith in him, even if the first part of the match was not played well as he can play. But I mean, we are used to some players sometimes struggling in opening rounds, and we've seen a lot of it, even with players who've already made history in our sport. So I have to say that I'm not so worried, even thinking that Ruusuvuori is a good player to start 96 draw Masters. So also coming from Barcelona, probably it was not so easy to adapt so fast. And also we can't expect them to win every match like 6-2, 6-1. So I mean, I'm very okay with him and his chances to win the event. I still, of course, consider him the main favorite.
Yeah, to me it also doesn't change that much. I mean, to an extent, we knew that he was going to be vulnerable in these, altitude, almost indoorish conditions in Madrid than he was in Barcelona. Maybe I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be Ruusuvuori doing that, but just someone in the event could potentially do exactly what Emil did. So come out, crush the return, crush every ball basically for a set and a half, and then put enough pressure on Alcaraz in faster conditions so that he cannot really cannot execute his game, cannot perform. I think the reaction from Alcaraz, not in terms of like how he reacted, body language or something, but just the reaction game wise at first was pretty tragic. Like he was just trying to finish every single ball in a single shot. Despite you would think that usually the game plan there would be to maybe make Ruusuvuori play a bit, make him move laterally. He didn't really do that. But of course, eventually, as you said, there was that game 2-6, 2-3, 5 breakpoints, and they were just insane. When he was under pressure, everything suddenly worked. He was the serve that for the first set and a half wasn't giving him anything, suddenly was setting him up for some easy +1 winners, and they weren't even that easy. Like the backhand down the line that he hit, I think that was the third break point, was just it's not a high percentage shot. So these +1 shots that the serve was giving him weren't even that easy, but he was taking them. He took that half volley at 30-40, which was just insane. Of course, Ruusuvuori ended up getting to it, but he couldn't really play anything from that position anymore. And I guess that's also kind of what makes champions, be champions.
Yeah.
The fact that when it's not working well, when you actually have to like save yourself from a pretty dire situation, you suddenly start playing better. And of course, since then it was just straight up, free roll until the end. I guess by the time Carlos broke, I think it was the next game already, right? At 3-all, I
Yeah,
think he
the
broke.
next game.
And yeah, by that time it was already like I've seen this movie before. Ruusuvuori
Yeah.
comes close to a top player, even on a much smaller scale. But this year in Rotterdam, when he played Tsitsipas, right, he was up a break 5-3, loses the break, and then you know that the match is done. And it was here. It was the exact same. Carlos breaks at 3-all, and you just know that the match is over, which is a bit of an issue with Ruusuvuori, I guess, and why he hasn't been able to like fully break through, let's say, into these seeded positions. But yeah, for me, it also doesn't really change that much. I do think that his draw is also not that tough. He plays Dimitrov, then Grenier or Zverev. In the quarters, potentially
Yeah.
Kachanov, Bautista Agut, Nishioka, Rublev. These are good players, of course, but they aren't like they don't have that sort of an insane upside that I think could really trouble Alcaraz. Maybe Zverev, of course, he beat him at Roland Garros last year, but he's not fully back to his best. So yeah, for me it also doesn't really change anything, and I think you're also very right with the fact that just playing his first match in Madrid after Barcelona, it could be tough. It's not as swift as you could, for example, it's not as smooth as on the women's side when you have Stuttgart into Madrid and it feels like it's just very much the same conditions, or let's say pretty similar. Of course, it's not really indoors here, but pretty similar, let's say. And Barcelona, Madrid, definitely a bigger jump. So yeah, I totally get it, and also don't really. It doesn't influence what I think about Alcaraz's chances here.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the draw, at first I thought that if Alcaraz could have had a bad day, probably Rublev could have been a threat, but I don't know with the altitude, to be honest. I think that the altitude can make Rublev a bit less dangerous in this matchup. Then of course I don't know 100% because I haven't watched, but yeah, I thought that he can lose control a little bit more than he does on clay like Monte Carlo, and or he can do in Rome clay, talking about Rublev. So I can agree that the draw is not that difficult probably as it can appear, because at first you can read Dimitrov, you can read Zverev, Rublev, and you can think, but probably it's not that tough as I think that.
I guess a fair point would be like, what is tough then, right? If we don't consider this draw tough, then what is tough? And
no, yeah, you're right.
I
Of
can't
course,
really.
yeah, it's not a cakewalk, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was a little bit too like I just maybe I wasn't, I didn't phrase it well enough. It's not that easy for most players. It would be
No, of
actually pretty
course.
tough. Yeah.
Of course, we are talking about, of course, Alcaraz's qualities and the fact that he already showed that, for example, his serve can be a great weapon in Madrid, like it was, for example, last year in the match against Djokovic. I'm thinking about all these things. Of course, it's not an easy draw, that's for sure, but probably also some factors like the conditions and the form of the players, because for example Zverev historically plays really good in Madrid, but yeah, I don't know, probably the 3 hours and a half he spent on court yesterday can in some way help him, because it's not always about tiring, and sometimes spending time on court can help you a little bit, but usually Zverev is a player who is able to perform really well in Madrid. Is 2 times champion and one was in the final last year too, so
Yeah, always in the quarterfinals. Five editions he played, always in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it can for
Ghosty
sure
was
be an interesting test for Alcaraz. That's for sure, regardless uh, of the form and all the things you have to beat Zverev. I mean, it's mm, uh, l- yesterday's performance in the first set and a half. The match is finished, probably. So.
possible. Ghosty was saying something about Zverev's upside is that great. You think, Damian? I mean, I don't think anyone can really disagree that the guy has an incredible peak level. How often does he actually touch it? That's a bit of a different story, I guess, especially with how rarely he trusts his forehand enough. But yeah, as Mario said, Zverev has just been an insane player in Madrid. Basically, anytime he showed up, 2017 quarters, 2018 he won it, 2019 quarters, 2021 he won it, and 2022, of course, the final. He was crushed by Alcaraz in that final, but then beat him at Roland Garros. If it was last year, if it was last year's Zverev, who I really think had a very good chance, if not for the ankle, to win the French, I would be saying that this is a tricky one for Alcaraz, definitely, especially with Zverev liking these conditions so much. But right now, you still kind of have to, see it to believe it, I guess. But we are probably getting that much. That at least we know, right? Because Alcaraz is a massive favorite against Dimitrov, and so is Zverev against Grenier, who kind of lucked out into this run, let's say. But maybe let's get over to another section, which I think the sort of
Yeah.
the third one, the third eighth is really interesting, where we lost all the seeds because we lost Carreño Busta, who withdrew just a day before I think he was due to play, and also we lost Ruud, Grigspor, and Musetti. Grigspor, I guess, is just a little less relevant. We talked about on some shows about his ankle and like the fact that he's delaying the surgery, and apparently he was struggling with it more in the Munar match, and that's why he retired. But Mario, what did you think about the Ruud and Musetti losses? Which one maybe was more surprising? What do you think this means for the event as well?
Even if he's not playing well right now, I still think that Ruud's loss is probably a little bit more surprising because I've never seen Musetti doing nice things in Madrid so far. So probably it's also a bit of a struggle to adapt to this court, and it wasn't that easy as a match. I mean, I could have thought of an up before the tournament. Casper is not playing well right now, but the match was, I think, shocking, to be honest. Because I watched it really well. I'm not talking about the score and all these things because I don't care a lot. I'm just talking about the way he he didn't react to the difficult put in front of him by a good Arnaldi, because he played a really good match. He made 35 winners, 13 first errors, so it's very good rate. He played a really good match, but especially in the first part of the second set, it's been an error fest. And then he started to play even more defensive tennis, and yeah, no, I'm not even talking about the pedigree which Ghosty is talking about in the comment. I'm just talking about the way he literally didn't react at anything during the match. And it's maybe you can lose that 1-7-6 in the third, you can lose that one in straight sets too, but I don't know, the body language, everything was totally off and bad to see.
Yeah, I mean, Arnaldi was definitely crushing his forehand. That much is undeniable. This is something that also he hasn't really had most of his career, right? Like last year, maybe when he was emerging onto the tour, he was known as a bit of a defense specialist.
Mm.
He wasn't always this comfortable, just blasting the ball. And right now he is. Great match from him, 100%. We're not sure if it's a top 100 debut yet. Like one more win would probably secure it, but of course, not having the rankings after the first week of Madrid makes it kind of tricky. And there's still a lot of players who can overtake him next week. But yeah, the beginning of the second set you mentioned 17, was it, consecutive points
17,
that
17,
Ruud
considering
lost?
also the end of the first set.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the end of the
17.
first set, yeah, and he was like half tanking most of them. As he said, he was just for a moment he was just absolutely trying to blast every forehand into oblivion,
Exactly.
and then he goes back behind the baseline 5 meters and tries to win like that. So it was definitely a very weird mental effort from Ruud. This year, anytime we start thinking that maybe he's getting back, he's getting like being closer to his best, because I don't think even the losses to Struff or Serundal already were really worrying, right?
Yeah.
Both players with some very high upsides when they are hitting well, and they definitely were on the day. Of course, he won a story playing quite all right as well. So they weren't really worrying. This one was for sure. I'm not saying Madrid is also like the best event for him or something, but he made the semis in 2021, and of course, if you're Casper Ruud, then it's the clay season. You kind of have to look for points right now, and well, in
Yeah, I
the
mean,
ATP race, mhm,
last year he didn't do well in at the beginning of the clay season, but
yeah,
we had the Madrid, the Miami final, so it was a total different background to analyze his disappointing results of the beginning of the clay season, because the first good result came, I think, in Rome. But given that he didn't perform even in hardcore the first part of the season, yeah, it's totally bad. Also because of the match in general, what we saw yesterday by him. So
yeah.
yeah,
Something
and
interesting
it's
that
an
you said was,
opportunity. It's an opportunity because totally different conditions. But Arnaldi beat Munar last week in Barcelona. But it's also an opportunity for Munar and for all the players involved
yeah.
in that spot of the draw to make a Masters quarterfinal. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely the section is very even. We have a couple of these where yeah, there's just the opportunity is there for everyone, basically, and it's hard to say who's gonna take it. But yeah, you mentioned that Ruud lost to Lajovic in the second round at Madrid last year, which I guess is sort of the silver lining for Ruud fans, or Ruud enjoyers right now, that last year he also didn't do anything in Madrid, and then went on to reach the semis in Rome, won Geneva, also struggling with like Joao Sousa, right? So he wasn't really
Yeah, in the
perfect there.
final.
Yeah, so he was. It's not like, I guess it was so like Sousa was actually playing pretty well back then. Also had that insane 5-setter with Tseng at the French, but still, like that's maybe the takeaway for Ruud here, that he doesn't necessarily need to do well in Madrid to go to Rome and the French Open and produce something better. But as you said, it was a bit of a different scenario with him just not doing anything since the beginning of the year this time. Well, other than the Estoril title, but at the stage of his career, the 250s sort of stop mattering at some point. It did matter because of course it gave him a lot of rhythm, it gave him a lot of confidence. Well, apparently not enough, but still it's not really what we're thinking of, and it's not really where his ambitions lie, probably. And I would totally agree with the Musetti sort of bit, where I actually totally thought that Hanfman was going to beat him. Hanfman is just one of these most classic fast clay enjoyers, right? He made two ATP Tour finals, both at slight altitude, Gstaad, Kitzbühel. So this was definitely one of the matches that just looked like trouble from the very beginning. And well, I guess it's just natural for Musetti to maybe be a little weaker in Madrid, given the fact that you can just rush him more effectively. He still made
Mm.
the third round, right, last year, so it wasn't It's not like he cannot win
Yeah.
matches, but if he runs into someone like Hanfman, he's gonna have a tough
Yeah, it's
workout at
tricky.
least.
It's tricky.
Yeah,
Also, Anfan is an informed player right now, so it could have been tough, and it's been really tough. He lost. So yeah, but still, I think that we're watching something from Musetti that probably 2 or 3 weeks ago we wouldn't have expecting coming so fast, because he comes from two nice weeks in Monte Carlo and Barcelona, so it's
um,
okay.
yeah. Mahaj beat Sock in Houston this year.
Yeah.
Ghosty. Huntman did play in Houston though, so maybe you're confusing him there with some other match. Anyway, a little lower down in the draw, there's this section with Hurkacz and Rune as the higher seeds, and they both had a couple of very tough matches. So maybe we could talk about something there. Of course, Rune saving a match point against Bublik in a crazy tiebreaker, and also Hurkacz coming back from 2-5 down in the third against Richard Gasquet.
Yeah, Urkash doesn't surprise me. Never. I especially when he's playing no, I mean everything. I just expect a hard fought battle, at least in a lot of cases, and yeah, he's been really close to the defeat, because when you're 2-5 down, also against a very experienced player like Gasquet, it can become really difficult to come back. But he close to winning the last 5 games. He saved his fans from a deciding set tiebreak. Yeah, I don't know what to take away, even because I think that he's still. I mean, I consider in that small section you mentioned, I still consider Rune the big favorite, even in a match against him. I mean, probably the Madrid clay can help Hurkacz a little bit more. But I still consider Rune pretty much a big favorite in this section of the draw. Even if we saw that after a first set in which he was all business against Bublik, after also a seventh game, which was a little bit crazy, because Bublik, like I think he made like 4 straight underarms, and then he hit a normal serve and it was a double fault, and then he lost the set again with the underarm. It was pretty much, I don't know if hilarious, and it depends on how you enjoy tennis. And then things became really tough for him, because Bublik raised his level. Also, he had a slow start to the second set, and this probably helped Bublik also a little bit to enter the match. And then we know what happened, because he had also to save a match point in his last match as a teenager. Yeah, it's also that I think an interesting part of the draw, because if they win respective matches, Rune and Hurkacz can face each other in round 4, and I mean you have to beat him. Still you have to beat him like 2 or 3 times if you want to progress. I'm interested, but I still think that Rune should progress and should have at this point, I would say, a nice shot, even to look very forward, in given what happened near Casper Ruud in that section of the draw.
Yeah, I kind of don't think Casper Ruud would have been that much of an obstacle for him anyway if they played in the quarters. But of course, that kind of helps him as well. If he beats Davidovich Fokina, which kind of looks like the toughest match he could play
Yeah.
until the semis, right? like it's probably a little tougher than Hurkacz Ćorić, and it's
Mm.
much tougher than Arnaldi, Munar, Altmaier, or Hanfmann. So definitely a nice opportunity there. I think the sort of the biggest takeaway was that the Munich injuries were gone. You couldn't see that shoulder
Yeah.
issue or that ankle issue. So at least in that sense, Rune was fine and survived just another crazy match. Of course, the tiebreaker kind of speaks for itself, and both players easily could have taken that. Not an easy third round match against Davidovich Fokina,
Yeah, I
potentially. We'll see
agree.
how he handles that. I actually see that he's like not as much of an overwhelming favorite as well for the bookies as I would have thought he would be at this stage of his career. That's probably related to his last two matches being crazy like that. And yeah, Hurkacz against Gasquet, he was 2-5 down. I frankly thought that I loved Hurkacz's draw when it came out. Gasquet and Ćorić,
Mm.
it really shouldn't be that tough, I think. Just given the fact that we are in Madrid, and you're very right that historically and still the conditions in Madrid should be helping him. Well, he was just not doing that much on the return against Gasquet even, so it was really tough. And as you said, he's just engaged in so many matches like this year, constantly in tiebreakers. This time actually avoided the third set tiebreakers somehow because Gasquet lost 5 games in a row. But well, I think it was mostly the Frenchman losing his mind a little bit, but also some forward instincts from Hurkacz going to the net a bit more when it mattered. So that's always why do the bookies matter as is ghosty? Like it's just a percentage chance of winning the match, right? According to some people who do this on a daily basis and like algorithms and etc. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting to compare with sort of what I think. And I think that the odds on Rune not being as quite as not giving him as much of a chance as you'd think is mostly related to his last two matches being simply crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
It's a test tomorrow for Rune because I mean he's facing a solid player who can hit the ball really well when he's on. He's not that much of consistent yet, but I can see him creating some troubles if he's in a good day. So I mean, I think that it can be a test for him to and for us to understand how much he can look forward in this draw.
Yeah, I don't know if quants ghosty, but there are people who do this as a job, and they're usually actually quite good at it. And of course, all the bookies like look at each other's lines, right? So it's really like it's really gonna be in most cases an accurate description of how favored someone is to win a match. Of course, then you either agree with it or you don't. For example, that's just going to be a quick one from the WTA side. But for example, today Mirra Andreeva was the big favorite. Oh, maybe not the big favorite, but like a decent favorite over Magdalinette, right? An Australian Open semi-finalist against a 16-year-old now, but 16-year-old today, and yet Andreeva was the favorite. And I guess in a way they were right? So. No, I just find it pretty interesting, to
Yeah,
compare
I mean, also
with
sometimes
my opinions.
you can recognize that a player is a slight favorite or something to win a match, but you can have another opinion about the outcome of the match. For example, I'm taking this as an example. I can say that I think that Barrer can win the match against Zverev, but I'm not telling you that that Zverev is not the favorite to win the match. Mm.
Yeah, the broader implication is that Vegas is where the real tennis knowledge is. Well, apparently the bookies are always right? That's what every gambler will tell you, I guess. He thinks that he finally found some odds that they're clearly wrong. They're clearly wrong. I'm gonna I'm gonna use that value and win some money, and then they lose. That's how gambling works, right? The house always wins. Anyway, let's leave gambling out of it for now. We talked about the top half of the draw, there's this fine section here as well, where if Thomas Martin Etcheverry beat Frances Tiafoe today, then we would have had some, it would have been just as open as that Ruud Musetti one. As it stands right now, we have Lajovic and Struff and Kacin and Tiafoe. So I guess the most, the biggest thing we should talk about here is the loss of Felix Auger-Aliassime today to Dusan Lajovic.
Yeah, even if I think that right now Lajovic and Struff could have been seeded players in this draw, talking about form and confidence and level of tennis they are showing. So, for example, I see that the Struff Lajovic match can be really interesting to watch if they can bring on the level they are showing right now. I think that for Felix, after a very very rough start, hasn't been that tragic as a match, to considering that he's came back after a little bit of an injury. He was playing a very informed player, and I mean he's double faulting a lot. He's made a lot of avoidable mistakes even in some parts of the match, but I have to say that at some point in the first set, I was thinking about, oh my god, probably this is going to be really bad, and no, it hasn't been so bad, like I started thinking. So, I mean, he played well in Rome last year. I think that he has still time to improve and to do some nice things in the next weeks. Uh, I mean, for sure, disappointed of the loss, but he hasn't looked that bad, in my opinion, all things considering.
Yeah, interesting question from Adam there. Do you think that, all right, I don't know, sorry. Do you think that Hurkacz is on a downward because he's not improving at all, on a downward trend? I don't know if he's on a downward trend. I think very well he might stick around to the top 20 and etc. Like he right now, I think in the ATP race is about around the top 15, which is where I would probably expect he should remain at the end of the year. But I do think that he's not improving at all. Yeah. If you even think back to, I don't know, Miami 2021, which he won, of course, has anything really changed about Hurkacz's game since? I don't think so. And I think a couple of months into the future, if his results don't improve at all, especially if he loses early at Wimbledon, which should be his prime target right now, let's say. If that doesn't happen, I think he should start thinking maybe about changing something, in his coaching situation as well. He's been working with Boynton for a lot of years now, and I'm not saying they haven't done some amazing things together. He basically got him to where he is right now, which is a fringe top 10 player. But since in the past couple of years, nothing has really improved in terms of the forehand. Nothing has really improved in terms of sort of Hurkacz stepping out of his comfort zone when it's needed. He is still that's incredibly passive in most key moments. And I think if as a coach Boynton is unable to combat either of those things, then maybe he should try to look for someone else, at least maybe to add someone to the team. I'm not necessarily saying that he would have to fire him. Of course, as usual, we don't really know that much about coaching because as an outsider, it's just impossible to tell what exactly is going on in someone's team. But I would say that it kind of looks like he has become, his progress has become very stale, and he should probably try to attempt to do something to counteract it. And Mario was talking about Felix Auger-Aliassime earlier, of course. Yeah, I think it was a perfectly fine match. Just a shame for him, I think, that that he lost. Because Madrid is probably the best clay court event for him on the tour, and just if he won it, I think he could have played much better in the next match. Of course, It would have been tough. It would have been Struff. Generally, I thought that his draw is pretty kind, unless before Struff entered it as a lucky loser. But that's mostly because I thought that after a huge event for Lajovic, maybe he's just not going to repeat that sort of emotional high as it usually happens. It of course never actually came to fruition. But yeah, just a bit of a shame for Roger Alissim, and I'm not quite sure he's going to do that well at Rome and Roland Garros. I know he did it last year. Just think that maybe somewhat like Ruud, like what you said about Miami, even after the weaker Sunshine Double that the Felix had last year, and like the beginning of the clay season not being perfect, I still think he had like a bit more momentum going into Rome and the French Open. So that's something that I kind of I don't know if I'm worried about it, but like that's something that that I see ahead of as a potential issue ahead of Rome and Roland Garros. But of course, as you said, he did well there last year. But with how his backhand has been looking this year, I don't know. In Madrid is just so much easier for him to hide it, and in Rome, Paris, we'll see. I guess it will be just very vital for him right now to get an easy second round opponent in Rome, or easy-ish. Someone he can pull through, he can push through. Because if not, then of course there's still Geneva and Lyon. So maybe there's gonna be something there. Ghosty is very.
Last year, his backhand was looking much better for sure, because I remember even his losses during the clay season. For example, the quarterfinal he played in Rome against Djokovic, and the backhand was playing a very, very good level. So yeah. It can be a problem. It's a bit of a shame that he lost today, because if you need to play, if you need to build the momentum, of course winning gives you the chance to play another competitive match. And of course now he should just go to Rome and try to start again building this momentum. So yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I guess you could even see that in the way he played the opening set, right? Or at least the opening 5-6 games. That was definitely the worst patch he had the entire match. And he just wasn't able to. Well, he recovered from it. He wasn't able to clinch the match, but essentially it's what lost him the match, sort of. But of course, he hadn't played since Miami, so it was quite a long break as well. Ghosty is very is like dying to talk about Shevchenko, so let's maybe change the side of the draw a little bit to the last quarter.
It's okay, because section. I really like him, so it's okay for me.
Ghosty or Shevchenko?
Shevchenko.
Okay. Shots fired.
Ghosty too.
As you said, there's Shevchenko playing Medvedev in the second round. What a bizarre performance from Lehechka today. Just 40 something minutes against Shevchenko to games one. Yeah. I saw 44 and 46. So sometimes the difference.
Yeah. So let's say 45.
Yes, along these lines, something along these lines. What do you think ahead of this one? Medvedev on clay, I guess he can always be vulnerable. And of course, there's that nice story with Shevchenko and Medvedev being PlayStation buddies. And in 2022, if someone just doesn't know the context, in 2022, Shevchenko was brought in as a substitute for the ATP Cup. For Russia. And it was just Medvedev texting him, "Hey, you got into the ATP Cup." And Shevchenko was just worried, how am I going to get a visa in 2 days? And Medvedev basically did everything for him. He obtained that the documents for him and everything. And they only knew each other from playing PlayStation together. The ATP Cup was actually the first time they met in person. And that's just a very funny story that got kind of, well, I don't know if viral, but last year on Twitter when Medvedev spoke about it, it was a bit famous. Then I also talked about it, talked to Shevchenko about it, I think in Poznan maybe last year. So just a fun bit of flair to add to the match, I suppose. Do we think that there's any chance that Shevchenko is going to win?
Not as low as people can think, probably. I have to say that I don't know if I can imagine him winning the match, but I can give him some chance to do well, in my opinion. It depends on how Medvedev step on court. if he's going to enjoy the environment and the atmosphere or not, because we know that sometimes he's I won't say fine when playing on clay, but he accepts it, and suddenly the other day he doesn't accept it, and so I don't know. It depends a lot on Medvedev. I don't know if I don't think that he's losing this one, but I can see Shevchenko producing a good performance and creating good moments in this match. Why not? That's my opinion. I think that he can do something. And if you're going to ask me if I am going to watch, probably yes, because I will be interesting to watch both players, how both player will be like in this match. I don't know if it's enough, but if it will be enough, I don't know. But yeah, why not is my answer.
Yeah, the only like sort of thing that worried me about Shevchenko recently was the Barcelona final that he, sorry, Barca final, of course not final, round 2 that he played against Deminor, where he won just one
Yeah.
game, and I was sort of like, really against like let's say middle of the road ATP Tour quality player, you do that. But I think eventually he'll be fine at tour level. I spoke a lot about Shevchenko a couple of days ago on one of the Talking Tennis streams here, and just the fact that it wouldn't really be surprising if he was. Yeah, it wouldn't really be surprising if Shevchenko became, I don't know, like a seed in these events in the future. It wouldn't really be. And it also wouldn't be if he just stayed in the 51 to 100 sort of ranking section and just had a career there, which I think is also, of course, a perfectly fine a perfectly fine feat. But I do trust in him eventually finding his footing at tour level, and just being one, appearing in these events for years. We'll see how successfully. Definitely the road that he's had so far to the third round. I'm not counting the. Like in the qualifying, he also had a couple of really weird matches because he basically won 3 tie breaks and then one set against Cerundolo, who's not great at altitude. Bellier, is just a serve fest, and then he plays Wolf, for whom it's his second European clay match of his career, not counting juniors, and of course also Lehechka, 45 minutes, very weird performance where sometimes he wasn't really moving that much, and like I have to see what's going to happen, but of course with Medvedev on clay, there's always some sort of vulnerability, whether it's mostly induced by himself and his mentality, maybe, but it could be the case. There was also another question from Adam, which I think you might also want to reply, and it's about Sinner losing big matches against many top players because he gets nervous due to inexperience, or is it not big match? Is he not a big match player? Like for me, it's neither of these. It's mostly the fact that he has he is a bit one-dimensional, and against most of these top players, it just kind of runs out of it. Not against Alcaraz though, apparently, because anytime he plays Alcaraz, he's going toe to toe with him. But especially against someone like Medvedev, the fact that he doesn't have this sort of ability to, I don't know, go to the net, use the drop shot. He can try. He's been trying in their matches, Rotterdam this year, Miami this year. But anytime he hits a drop shot, it looks like it's just the first time he's ever hit in his career. At least in the Miami final, that's how it looked. And maybe the best sort of contrast for this is how Alcaraz played Medvedev in Indian Wells, right? How he just never really, of course, the conditions were also worse for Daniil, but how he just never really gave him a chance, serving volleying out wide, and just constantly mixing up the play, which is something that Sinner doesn't really do to an extent, or although on a much lesser scale. I think Rublev faces similar issues. It's just that Sinner does everything that Rublev does a tiny bit better, so he is at least, that one round further usually. Of course, he still doesn't have an ATP 1000 title, but Sinner has like 4 years on Rublev. But yeah, I don't think it's really nerves or not a big match player. I think it's just against a certain quality of opposition. He might start, he might need to start looking for some other ways to win points. Mario,
No, no,
your
yeah,
turn.
I agree. Even if I mean, we saw a, I mean, an encouraging start of the season. Even talking about at least how, for example, he played the first part of the Rotterdam final. Not talking about the Alcaraz matches, because we have understood that, I don't know, there's something special. Probably it's it can happen, but for example, that matchup can show me also that he can be able to step up in terms of mentality in some kind of situation, just to step on court and try to play a great match and all these things. I mean, I'm liking what I'm watching this first part of the season. By him, of course, is fourth in the race so far. I don't know if after Madrid, because he's not playing, but for sure he needs to add a little bit of um, plan B or C, something like that, some variations, he's trying to do so, and he's trying to improve. I think that he has a nice team around him, and um, he's that kind of player who I can still see him improving a little bit.
Okay. Matthew says that Davidovich Fokina is going to beat Rune. Do we all agree? I don't know if we do, but we definitely said that it's kind of tricky, and it's probably his toughest match until the semis, potentially.
Yeah,
With
it will
him
not a
then,
breaking news.
yeah, with him then facing Hurkacz Ćorić potentially, right? And then like Arnaldi, Munar, Hanfman, or Altmaier. So yeah, I think definitely it's his toughest match until the semis. I think if he wins tomorrow, is it tomorrow? It is
Tomorrow,
tomorrow, right?
yes.
Yeah, if he wins tomorrow against Davidovich Fokina, I think he's very, very likely to make the semis in Madrid. There's another section where the high seeds have actually stuck around, which is Fritz and Nori. And they're facing some pretty interesting third round opposition. So maybe I will ask a different question this time than compared to when we talked about other parts of the draw. Are Taylor Fritz, Cam Nori, are they gonna be in trouble in the third round?
Sorry, I'm fast checking the
Yeah,
next
Fritz is
match.
playing. Yeah, sure. Fritz is playing
Okay,
Garin,
Zhang and
and Zhang is playing Nori. Yes, Garin beat Kecmanovic today, of course, eliminating the other seed, and
um,
Zhang beat Shapovalov, eliminating the other seed in the party draw.
uh, Garin is playing nice tennis in lately, and he can do well in Madrid. He already has a quarterfinal, and yeah, I can see an upset there. Fritz is playing well in this first part of the clay season. He had two rough matches in Monte Carlo and Munich. Especially in Munich, he didn't play really well in that match. So I don't know if it's just because he's still trying to build his kind of tennis on clay, and to probably add something more to be more effective on the surface. While of course we know Garin is super much experienced on clay. He also has some quite few titles on clay, and I can see a tight match, and of course I'm interested to watch. And talking about Norrie, he's I was expecting a little a little bit more in this first part of the clay season, to be honest. Given what I saw from him in the South American swing, which was not playing really well by Norrie, but in terms of the result and and yeah, and all the greatest showed, I thought that he could have mm, some came into clay with some confidence, and he had some rough losses. Even the loss he had against Musetti, that yeah, you can lose to Musetti in Barcelona, but also the way it came, it wasn't that encouraging to watch. Yeah, it's an interesting part of the draw, because I see both players as kind of favorite to meet each other in round 4. It is, but they have a test. They have a test to come through if they want to progress, and especially Garin, because I saw him a little more in recent times. He's playing a good tennis, and he's in totally different form than he was, for example, even in the South American clay swing.
Yeah, Garin's form probably started around the Sunshine Double, which
Yeah.
we've talked about it many times, that he's actually not as bad a hard court and grass court player as as it would seem. Definitely plays quite flat, and is just very good on serve and return, which helps you on the surfaces as well. Quite flat for a clay quarter, at least. That's what I meant. And yeah, not too surprised that he's in the third round. Definitely, it seemed like Hessler Kecmanovic. That's an opportunity he could take. I would say that on clay, he's probably like the maybe Kecmanovic is going to be the steadier player over the years, but the upside of Karin is probably just higher. To me, he has a very fine shot at Fritz. Even if the American has been making so many semifinals, quarterfinals since the start of the year, basically he missed only at the Australian Open, and still, he is going to be slightly more vulnerable on clay. It maybe isn't 20% or something like that, a 20% edge as it was back in the day. Maybe right now it's just 5%, but it's still there, and someone like Garin could easily expose that. To me, it's like more or less a 50-50. But that's perhaps a bit of a stretch, but yeah, Chris O'Connell even pushed Fritz today, and Garin should probably do the same, provided he shouldn't be that tired from the Kecmanovic match. The comment on the screen that I had from Ghosty was because yesterday I said that, or was it 2 days ago? I can't remember. I was on a stream here 2 days ago or yesterday, and basically I gave Watanuki as my upset pick for the round. My other upset pick was Hanfan over Musetti, and no one said anything when we were doing that. So Ghosty, yeah, but actually,
Remember,
like, Watanuki over Nori is the one that I sort of gave as like my upset pick. I stated it specifically, explicitly. But well, of course I don't. He was still a huge underdog, and I think he very much had a chance of winning this one. So can't really say I feel too bad about this. Also, I think that maybe means that Watanuki should be able to play Cagliari next week. And that would make me a very happy man, because I'm actually traveling to Italy tomorrow. So I would love to see him there. Hopefully he doesn't withdraw. And of course, if he beat Nori, then he probably would have been forced to even. And when it comes to, do I think Zhang can beat Nori? In general, with Zhizhen Zhang, on a pure like ball striking level, I think he can beat anyone in this draw. But when it comes to like the mental side of the game, and the sort of things that can be polished up with experience, like I don't know, shot selection, rally tolerance, these things are not too strong with him. Of course, he's had also, when it comes to like the mental things, he's had so many losses from match points up and etc. And I mean, in that sense, I don't know if he can do it, but just on a pure ball striking level, purely tennis, to me, he really could, I don't know, win two more rounds here or something like that. But
Yeah.
of course, he hasn't had the best of years, and even that match against Shapovalov was kind of imperfect today. But it was fun to see that Shapovalov didn't really stand out like in any real way. Of course, he is a more
Yeah.
fluid mover, I would say, but they actually have like pretty similar issues. They are really excellent ball strikers, but they cannot play. Like they don't know how to play. They literally don't know how to play. And of course, Shapovalov was 4-2 for Dilov up on serve in the first set.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he exactly blew that game because, well, there were a couple of unforced errors, but also a couple of just massive winners from Zhang. But the tiebreaker was just absolutely dire from the Canadian. The third set tiebreaker, of course, not the opening one, which he won. Like Zhang did not have to do anything to win that first set tiebreaker. So still a fine run for the Chinese, who I think never had an ATP 1000 win before this week. So still massive for him, and he's gonna play Nori. I really think he could be able to do it, but I can't say I trust him mentally. He's just had so many of these weaker losses where you feel that tennis wise he can really hang with the guy, but in the end it doesn't really look like that. And I guess there's also the elephant in the room, the match that actually finished like an hour
Yeah.
ago. Team Tsitsipas. You said, I think, Mario, on Twitter, I think I saw it, that you were invited for a pizza somewhere today and you just declined because of
Yeah.
the fight that
Reality is
you
that I
wanted to
didn't want to
watch.
go for the pizza. That was
Okay.
no.
Mario admits to lying on Twitter here.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, I like teams tennis, and I was here to watch something good today, and the inconsistency is still clear there because there's a huge inconsistency in his level, at least in my opinion. Even today it was, but I mean, Tsitsipas has served really, really well today, and despite this, team has been able to have a fight and to find his forehand, even if he has lost that shot in some parts of the match. I would say that overall, we have to say that, of course, it's been an encouraging match for him overall. We can be here a lot of time talking about all the things that still don't work as they should, but I think that it must be said that it's an encouraging performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think what you said, about Tsitsipas serving really, really well, like that's even an understatement. Like that was just insane. He was making over
Yeah,
80% of his first serves throughout the match. I think in the first set it was a little lower down, but in the
55.
second set, yeah, in the second he obviously didn't miss even one, which the only example that I have in my mind was Fucsovics last year against Hanfman, maybe it was in a challenger in Bratislava. I think it was actually more first serves than Tsitsipas had here, like 23 or something like that. But it's extremely rare. This is the sort of stat where if you see it, you're gonna check in some other source whether it's actually true, because it can't be at first. You're gonna think. And I think in that way, because Tsitsipas was just serving insanely well, probably one of like the top 5 serving performances he's ever had, or something like this, in many metrics, both first serve points won and also making these first serves and not taking anything out of them, because of course you can make a lot of first serves if you go safe at it, and he wasn't. So in that sense, I think Tim was always kind of trying to like cheat destiny, and he was never really going to win that match. It seemed after the second set, and yet he kept himself in there. He of course came like 2 points away, right? So in theory, he didn't have a chance with Tsitsipas serving like that, but he still was so close. And
Yeah,
it's definitely like the Ghosty said, that was just a glimpse of what he used to be, but was definitely the most real glimpse, the most graspable, the most palpable glimpse that we've seen the past couple of months. So still a
yeah, of course.
pretty
I remember, like, if it was yesterday, the match he played last year against Andy Murray, and it's a total different player today. And of course, the biggest news for him is that Tsitsipas won 7-6, 7-5, sorry, in the deciding set tiebreak. And if I had to rate his performance, I still say that it's been a good performance overall from Tsitsipas. Yeah, he had quite a slow start, but he could have broke back immediately in the first set, and after that it's been a good performance, in my opinion, about Tsitsipas, and which I was also interested to see, because I wanted to see how Tsitsipas was like, first of all, in this event, because he had some good years, because he had the final and semi-final, but he also had some disappointing campaigns here, and I think that he looked bright today.
Yeah, at least at least it was worth it not going for the pizza, because, well, if the match was like 6-2, 6-2, right, in an hour, then
If it was 6-2, 6-2, I would have gone to the pizza, because I would have had
okay.
time to go, probably, I think.
Okay, then that was actually a pretty, like, you hedged a bit. You actually had a chance to just backtrack on it. So okay, it wasn't as risky as it seems. And yeah,
Yeah.
Tsitsipas right now, it seems like he has a very good draw to go deep as well. He plays Baez, then Safiulin or Zapata Miralles. The only other seed in his quarter is Frances
Zapata
Tiafoe.
Miralles is on fire.
Mm,
No,
yeah,
I'm kidding. I was kidding about the shirtless celebration.
yeah, I
A
thought
few
about
days.
it. Yeah, I actually thought that Evans was gonna beat him, and especially when it turned out that they're gonna play under closed roof, under a closed roof, I was like, oh, okay, that's even better for Evans. And apparently Zapata Miralles crashed him, but I did not watch that much, so
No,
I
me
cannot
neither,
really speak about it.
honestly.
Yeah, and slowly, I guess we are coming to the end of the show. We have talked about like the every single section of the draw, because we had this incredible success with the a couple of days ago. I had this incredible success with the sort of upset peak that I had with Watanuki over Nori. Maybe I'm gonna ask you about this. What's sort of your upset peak for the third round? For if you're like looking at all the third round matches, what's the
Okay.
one
Yeah,
where
I'm
you think
here.
the biggest upset is possible?
Mm,
Where will you call
biggest
it?
biggest possible upset,
Yeah, like
in
I
my
don't
opinion.
know. Yeah, I don't know how to.
I think it can happen, and yeah, I
Let's say
have
like
to.
the upset is like, I don't know, at least 40% or something like this. I don't know. I don't know how to give the rules for this, right?
Um,
How to establish the rules.
I don't know if I have to make a safe choice or not.
No, go bold, go bold. You, according to Ghosty, you've already said that Shevchenko was gonna win 23 Grand Slams, so you can go bold. You can go bold.
um, okay, no, okay. I'm giving Zhang a chance against Nori.
Okay.
I think that if he's able to find a nice day at the office, like they say, he can have the shot making to make something against Cameron or in the following round. Because I was also saying about Karatsev, who could beat Deminor, in my opinion, but I wouldn't call that a bold prediction. So I switched. Because I mean, ranking wise and considering the season, yeah, but it wouldn't shock me at all if Karatsev can beat Deminor in the third round. And yeah, there are some matches. we talk about Garin, of course, and yeah, that's it. That's my pick.
No, I totally agree with Karatsev. Like, okay, let's say that's a bit too safe. So my upset pick for the round would be
Yeah.
Pedro Cachin to beat Francis Tiafoe.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think he can do it actually. Of course, he hasn't had the best start of the to his 2003 campaign, 2023. I also think he's not going to be like a relevant main tour force for years. I don't think he will, but he seems to really enjoy playing at altitude. And especially, he was the runner-up in Madrid a couple of weeks back at the Challenger. And yeah, I just feel like he has this very basic, simple sort of tennis with a very decent serve, a very underrated serve, and then just going for his ground strokes. And I think in these conditions, this sort of basic style but executing it well, it can really work out for him. And it definitely the past couple of weeks he has been better than before. Yeah, I think I know. I think I know what you. Oh no, actually, you've read both comments now. Okay,
I've
I only
read
saw
this
once
one.
before. Yeah, this one. I'm not really sure what to say, Nurlan. Who would you date between the girl versions of Kyrgyz and Kokinakis? Like, not taking looks into consideration because I'm not sure
Yeah,
how it would translate to them. I would definitely choose Tanasi just because he's like easier to I don't want to say control because I don't want to control my girlfriend in this sense, but yeah, he's just way more predictable and just way nicer, and I think that's why I would choose Kokinakis.
probably same. I agree.
Right, and then there was also some long comment,
Yeah,
which
yeah, I put it
yeah.
already, but then I left it because I couldn't see you then while you were talking.
Okay, there was a bit of a rumor actually recently that Shevchenko would change nationality, but for now it's nothing there actually. That rumor was sort of put into thrown out into the air, let's say, on a Russian YouTube channel, which like they travel with some players and to tournaments, and they record like interviews, vlogs, and etc. I haven't watched the episode, but someone sent me that and said that Shevchenko could be switching nationalities soon. But for now we haven't really heard anything about this. So I'm just thinking if he could become the president of the European Union simply because as a Russian, it's probably going to be quite hard.
Yeah, let's first say how long he will date Potapova. Uh, and then
Yeah, Max turned on at exactly the right time to answer the most important question of the day from Nurlan. Who would you date between the girl versions of
guys,
Kyrgyz and
please.
Kokinakis? Oh, and Ghosty says this. Yeah, Ghosty, I guess I understand this because you like Sabalenka as well, right? And Collins, and you like the untamable ones. Anyway, let's maybe stop there. I
Yeah,
guess we've already
exactly.
talked about everything, right? Like nothing really
I
changes in who we think is going to win the tournament. Like maybe if you were to say who's the most likely to reach the final from the bottom half, then because as we both think that Alcaraz is probably going to be the winner, maybe Rune if he gets to the semis. Who do you think is the most likely to reach the final from the bottom half? Maybe that's the last question.
I'm watching the draw, and I have to be. I think Tsitsipas has a nice draw, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the safe option, right? But
If
it seems
it's a
obvious.
safe option, and he's not going to serve like today, but if he serves quite well in his matches, I think that he can reach this final. I let's imagine Medvedev having a good run. You're asking me if I can see him beating Tsitsipas on clay. Probably not. For example, Tsitsipas serving well. I can see him creating a lot of damage to Medvedev on this court. yeah, we can have some nice stories in this section, in this is not section, sorry, in this half of the draw, of the bottom half.
Yeah.
But again, I'm probably picking Tsitsipas to to reach the final. I think that Alcaraz has a way more difficult half, of course. Not I think, it's that. I don't admit reply to this, because we are mentioning players such as Rublev, Rune, but also players like Dimitrov, Kachanov, Zverev are a test, are nice players, are tough players to face. And I think that Tsitsipas is going to reach the final. I like to make bold prediction, but I'm not like that today regarding this question.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I like to go bold as well, but you also gotta be true to yourself. And I would also, for now, go with the safe option, especially as you know, some parts of this bottom half of the draw have already kind of blown up, and they're very close to blowing up even more. Like imagine, I don't know, like Garin, Zhang, Karatsev, Shevchenko, fourth round, sort of small
You're
section, like
dreaming
quarter.
that.
Yeah, like if that happens, for example, it's not that far from happening. So yeah, definitely exciting times. Still a lot of freshness left, which I do enjoy. I keep complaining if the semifinals are like, I don't know. Well, Alcaraz Rune, I wouldn't be complaining about. We still haven't seen enough of that matchup. But if it's like Tsitsipas Medvedev, I'm gonna complain. But if it's for now, there's still so much
I
freshness
agree.
left, and well, let's maybe finish with that then. Any closing thoughts?
No, I think I'm okay with it. I don't know you if you have some other.
Probably not. Thanks, guys, for being active in the chat as always. Of course, if you wanna watch if you missed some parts of
Yeah,
the stream,
I
it's gonna
want
be
to thank Ghosty to have spread fake news about me uh, in, this channel, but I like this.
Yeah, of course, it makes it more fun. And yeah, thanks, guys. If you missed some part of the stream, of course, it will be available for a rewatch on the channel. And we're gonna meet you guys in a week to talk about Madrid. And that's probably gonna be that definitely will be on Sunday after the
Yeah, so I
final is done.
in the evening because the final
Yeah,
will be late.
after the final is done. Yeah, and make sure to tune in into Nick's WTA review as well tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think it will be tomorrow, but it should
yeah,
be.
tomorrow should be
So
tomorrow.
yeah, thanks guys again, and
Thank
see
you,
you
thank you
any
all.
other time.